The more you try to have an orgasm, the more impossible it is to have an orgasm, because an orgasm is it's an involuntary response. It's like coughing, it's like breathing. You can't force an orgasm to happen.
Will it to come.
Yeah, and you can't, with certain techniques and things, yes, you can, but you can't will it to come, and you can't stop it once it starts. Like, it's actually an involuntary body response. And so when you're trying to have an orgasm, you are really actively preventing the orgasm from occurring.
Coming up on this week's episode of the Ask Women podcast, actually the How to Get the Girl, brought to you by the Ask Women podcast. I have Amy Rowan on the show, who is from the company Suburban Intimacy, where she talks about how to help women in your life unleash that super sexual side of themselves. Believe it or not, many women do not know what they're supposed to feel and experience when they are being intimate, which keeps us in our heads. That's the last place that you want us to be when we're in the bedroom. So if you want us to open up our legs more and open up our pleasure zones, you gotta help alleviate the pressure from the head first. And Amy is going to tell you exactly how to do it on this week's episode. So keep listening.
Thank you. Excited to join you here today, Marni.
You are doing, I'm not even religious, but God's word.
I mean, you know, it's how we procreate, among many, many other things.
Yes, but you're helping women find the pleasure, or re-find the pleasure in sex. So before we get into that, I just want to let everybody who is listening know that Amy is one. I had like two words at once colliding. Amy is one of my amazing coaches that is part of my Inner Circle coaching program. It is a 12-week coaching program where you get to work with my unbelievable wing girls one-on-one and in group coaching, doing flirting sessions, mock sessions. You get a ton of, I can't even go into it. It's going to be a whole podcast talking about it, but Amy is spectacular, and she is one of the incredible coaches that also does a monthly sex and intimacy Q&A for anybody who is part of the program. So if you do want to become part of the program, I'm going to put a link to apply to the program down below in the show notes, but I'm going to go back to Amy. I'd love for you to tell me, a shortened version of your story. How did you awaken this sexual side in yourself? Because it was not always there.
I love when people ask me this question, because I think when people hear that I'm a sexologist, they think, oh, well, she's always had a great sex life. She's always had it all figured out. And the reality is that's not true. Just like I think the vast majority of women, I have felt like something was wrong with me. I have felt broken. I have just doubted myself, doubted my body, I never really doubted my partner necessarily. It was so much more of my own self-doubt.
But did you actually, so you said you didn't doubt your partner, but did you put that onto your partner while you were doubting yourself?
I think I was afraid to say something because I thought something was wrong with me. And I thought that when I wasn't feeling the pleasure that I thought I should be feeling when he was doing all these different things and he was trying so hard, just like I think so many men, I think, most men recognize that women have, we need foreplay, even though I like to say core play because it's much more than that for us. And we can dive into that a little bit later. But, there was, as he was doing all of these things, it just wasn't working for me. And within that, I was like, well, there's something wrong. And I didn't know how to speak up. I didn't know how to say something there, because it's so interesting, because even between couples that love each other, that care, that are raising children, that can talk about money, that can talk about all these other things, when it comes to sex, it just gets really, really challenging because there's so much emotion and ego sometimes that's all kind of wrapped up into it. And so it starts to feel like such a big, heavy conversation. And then it starts to become exactly that.
Well, what were your fears that he wouldn't like, and what did you want, or did you not even know what you wanted?
I didn't.
Wasn't feeling right.
Yeah. I think what I was experiencing was like the very typical situation where I'm kind of laying there, my husband's doing all this different stuff and I'm just not really feeling much. Like it doesn't feel bad. It doesn't feel good. It just, and you lay there and you lay there and you lay there and you lay there. And at some point you're like, well, I don't know. It's not going to happen for me tonight. And in this situation, women make two choices, right? Choice number one is they say, this isn't happening for me tonight, but look, I want you to make sure, I want somebody to have a good time. So go ahead, you get yours. This is just not my night. The second thing that happens in that situation is they fake an orgasm because they want to preserve his ego, right? They don't want to hurt his feelings. And so they just say, okay, I'm just going to go fake an orgasm and go ahead and get it over with. And of course, when this continues to happen over and over and over again, when there is nothing in sex for the woman, then naturally she tends to not want sex because it's not enjoyable for her. It's not bringing her pleasure. Her partner is also not feeling great about this experience because he wants her to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And he can tell that she's not, but he doesn't want to just not have sex at all. So he's like, well, I'll just kind of take what I can get. But then this over years and years and years, it compounds and builds up. And so that's what happens within that experience. And I was there. I was stuck in that same place of just, this isn't feeling very good. I don't really know. And one day I finally said something to him about it. And I
What did you
asked,
say?
I just said, I said, I think that there's something wrong with me because, a lot of times I just don't feel anything. And I wonder, like, I wonder if I should go see a doctor. I just think that something's wrong with me. And he laughed, not at me, right? But he just said, Amy, I've been teasing you. Like, I've been trying to prolong things. I've been trying to make things last longer for you and give you more pleasure. And so the reason that and that was the other thing. I was like, I feel like it takes me so long to experience an orgasm. And he's like, oh, I'm prolonging that on purpose. And I was like, oh, wait, what? You're prolonging that on purpose? And again, that was the communication piece. But the other thing that happened within that conversation was I made a decision that I was just going to let it take as long as it takes. And rather than worrying and thinking and, oh my gosh, something's wrong, and why doesn't this feel good, and getting all stuck in my head, I was just going to let it take as long as it takes. And once I made that decision, and it does sometimes take a long time, because for most women, it takes 15 to 40 minutes to become fully aroused and experience orgasm. Once I said, I'm just going to let it take as long as it takes, I have never not had an orgasm since.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me understand a little bit more. So the biggest thing was that you were like, oh, I can't achieve an orgasm. And it sounds like you were very in your head about just lack of knowledge about you and your body and how an orgasm would work for you, versus not really being pleasured by your husband. It was that you were so in your head that anything he would have done would have not helped you reach an orgasm. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And it is. And then, once the self-doubt starts to creep in, and then once the focus becomes exclusively on the orgasm, then that's when the orgasm is going to become incredibly elusive, because the more you try to have an orgasm, the more impossible it is to have an orgasm, because an orgasm is it's an involuntary response. It's like coughing. It's like breathing. You can't force an orgasm to happen.
Not will it to come. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And you
can't, but
yes, with certain techniques and things, yes, you can, but you can't will it to come, and you can't stop it once it starts. Like, it's actually an involuntary body response. And so when you're trying to have an orgasm, you are really actively preventing the orgasm from occurring.
Right. Okay. So that's interesting. So I would think that most husbands, most partners, most men would hear things from their wife like, I'm really not that sexual, or like what may trigger a man to be like, oh, this is actually what's going on, right? And we'll explain what's really going on in a second, but like, what kind of things would they hear their partners saying to them that may indicate that this is something that's going on and there needs to be further discussion and further exploration?
I think a lot of it is just that, you know what, honey, this isn't happening for me tonight. Like, they're having sex, they're doing stuff. Like, don't worry about it. Like,
but continue
orgasm tonight. Yes. And it's just not going to happen. And then And then what that leads to is no, I don't really want to do it tonight because I just, it's going to take too long. I think that's another thing too, because even if you do know that it takes a while to get aroused, like just the thought, especially when you're tired and you have kids and you have all these other things, just the thought of like, okay, like if we can just have a quickie, right? I'm just going to, fine. I know there's not really going to be anything in it for me. We can just have a quickie for you because I know you want to have sex right now. But she's cheating herself out of the pleasure of the experience. And that is also, if that is what happens the majority of the time, then that is slowly going to decrease her desire. And
Yeah.
we don't
It's
have
gonna
to have orgasms.
erode everything about sex, right? Because you're just gonna be
Yeah,
like, it's not fun, it's not enjoyable. Fine, I'll just do this, and then it's not enjoyable for him either, and it's a chore, and
it's a chore.
it's like you're always being tapped on the shoulder, and you're like, oh God, stop it. Okay,
Yeah,
so that's good, so that guys can know what they might hear, and it's not just hearing it once, but it's hearing it over and over and over again.
yeah, it's the pattern.
So then, what do men do? Because I know what you did, and maybe you want to share what you did really briefly, but like this is a show for men who may not have women who are as vocal and comfortable as you. So what can men do to help the women in their lives so that they can have this expansive, amazing sexual experience?
I think the biggest thing that men can do is the biggest thing that men can do is
You took my
reassure.
note from last
I
week.
did, I did, I
Good,
did.
good.
The biggest thing that men can do is reassure their partner, their wife, their girlfriend that it's okay to let it take as long as it takes. I'm here. I'm enjoying every single moment of this. I love your body. I love watching and I'm here for you as long as it takes. So just relax,
Alleviate
just enjoy.
that pressure.
Yeah, take off that pressure. And then the other really critical piece of this too is removing this expectation of goal-oriented sex. We have been taught that sex is about you have an orgasm, you have an orgasm.
And you have it at the same time, and then it's done.
Yes, right? It's like kiss, kiss, rub, rub. I'm going to do this to you. You do this to me. We have our orgasms. We roll over and go to sleep. And that sex is fine part of the time. But the goal of sex and intimacy should be pleasure. It shouldn't be the orgasm. And when you are focusing on pleasure, when each partner is focusing on giving each other as much pleasure as possible without the focus on the orgasm, because there's a lot of women who have orgasms on a regular basis and they still aren't happy in sex because they feel like they have to have an orgasm to make their partner happy. And so when the focus is on pleasure, hun, just lay down, just enjoy yourself. I'm just going to devour every single part of your amazing body. And I'm going to kiss you and I'm going to touch you. And I don't want you to worry about a single thing. Just lay back and enjoy and just allow it to happen. And I think that's one big thing that men can do to help reassure. Another one, when they're like, hey, you want to have sex? Like, how about, is there something that I can do to turn you on right now? Changing that conversation, like, hey, do you want to have sex? No.
Well, so actually, I have a question. So, like, if women are in the state where they're kind of scared to have to perform again, like, will they close off to any open door to sex? So, like, is there a precursor conversation to have about this as well? That, like, I know what's up, like, you know what I mean? So that he can say, I'm not a fool. I kind of know what's going on, and it's something that I want to work on, but like, let me work on it. I'm assuming you might feel pressured to have sex, or you might feel pressure about having, like, what is the conversation that you have beforehand? Because I could see a man saying like, what can I do to pleasure you right now, or how can I make your day? Or even if he starts like rubbing her foot, she's gonna like tense up and be like, okay, now he's gonna want to have sex. He's gonna rub my foot, then rub my thigh. Like, how do we make it so that that tension is alleviated on the front end, so that it is just a foot rub, right? Or it is just like this slow. I just want to understand, like, what is the dance that a man can have?
The thing that you're alluding to, we call it touch aversion. When a woman starts to associate all touch as an invitation to sex. And again, that's the beginning of pressure. What a man can do to alleviate that is it's actually very, very simple. Hi, I'd like to give you a foot, not hi. I would like to give you a foot rub.
Hi, my name is
Hi,
George. I'm your
hi.
husband. I would like to give you a foot massage today and nothing else.
Yes. But it is just, I know you've had a stressful day. I really just want to just connect with you. And I really would love to give you a foot rub or a back massage. And this is not, I'm not going for sex. This isn't to lead for sex. And then stick to it.
And then stick to it, right?
And then stick to
Don't
it.
hope that it happens, right?
Yes.
Stick to your word.
Yeah. And
then don't get mad if after 3 times it doesn't lead to sex. Right?
Correct. Because, flirting, all of that stuff, that should start when the sun comes up, nurturing that connection, saying different things, cute little gifs back and forth, I love you, kisses, gentle touches, things like that. Again, not with the goal of having sex that night, because also most women are pretty intuitive and we can tell if that's what you're going for. But when you are intentionally connecting, when you're intentionally trying to make her feel good, and she doesn't associate that with, I'm trying to get you into the bedroom, then that is going to help stoke the flames of connection, which helps to stoke the flames of desire.
Okay, interesting. And then, so what happened for you? Because obviously you had this conversation and now you have a dungeon in your basement. How do you go from not having an orgasm to having a sex room in your house? Like that means that opening up that conversation opened up a ton of more conversations about sex. And obviously your husband was very open to those conversations.
My husband, so it was our 15-year anniversary, and I don't remember the exact situation, but we wanted to be able to go on like some big, huge trip, but financially we just weren't able to swing it at that point. And he was trying so hard to come up with something really, really special that would be amazing and different, even since we couldn't, go travel abroad, which is what we really wanted to do. And he had been listening and paying attention, very much like what you teach in your inner circle program. But he had been listening and paying attention to things that I was saying, things that I said turned me on, things that I was curious about. I don't know if he was keeping notes. I'm not completely sure what happened there. But we ended up going up to my family's lake house. I hope my parents never listen to this and find out what we did in their lake house. And he handed me a note. And he did what I think is possibly the hottest thing I know just about any woman would want, which is he turned off my brain. He said, Amy, for the next 72 hours, you're mine. Your brain is mine. Your body's, you are not going to have to make a single decision. I've got all of the food. I've planned everything. I have what you're going to wear. And all you need to do is just be there and enjoy. And for a mom of 3 kids who makes a kabillion decisions every single day and spends my entire life managing calendars and all of that stuff, just wait, you're going to completely can you turn off my brain? That's a very interesting concept. And he did. He turned off my brain. And when he came to get me, he let me sit in the room for about an hour. He said, go take a bath. He told me what to do. And then he came and got me and he said, I want you to put on this. And this was when he got very vulnerable. He had apparently been thinking for a long time about me wearing a pair of thigh-high socks. We've been together for 17 years. He'd never expressed lingerie, never expressed anything like that. And he was so nervous to ask me to put on just this pair of socks. I said, sure, I'll put on the socks. Like, I've already had a bath. I've had a glass of champagne. I'm feeling pretty amenable to just about anything you're going to ask of me at this point. And we went downstairs and there was scenes and rooms and he had just set up all of this stuff and he had planned and he had just looked into all of these different things that he thought that I was going to like, and also some things that he wanted to do as well. And had just put so much planning and forethought into that. And to be clear, we had never, ever, ever done anything on the kinkier side of things. I mean, there was floggers involved and all that stuff. This was all very, very new, like brand new.
But you talked about it obviously before. Because I don't know many, like, would a lot of women be like, okay, I've had a bath and now I'm okay with you putting a dildo up my ass? What, like how did he know that this was something that you would be open to?
Some additional background is I also sold sex toys for 12 years. So he knew that there was just a general comfort with that type of thing. How he made the jump into we're going to, have like a red room. And I think that was the conversation though, because of course I had read 50 Shades of Grey, and there were times that I said, this is, whoa, like, I don't know why this is so hot, and I don't really know if I would like this or not.
You were dropping nuggets the entire time of like things that were interesting to you, and he was paying attention.
And he was paying attention. And, I think the other thing that's important, because this is kind of jumping off a cliff. We kind of jumped off a cliff there. But the other thing that's important within this is that, oh my gosh, I just I forgot what I was saying. 50 Shades of Grey. The other thing that's important to this is that I'm going to have to move on because I just completely forgot that thought. I'm so sorry.
No, you're getting excited. No, but you're saying he like led you downstairs and there were all these rooms set up for you.
Yep. And just recognizing that the pleasure, the trust, there was a lot of trust and stuff that was built up there. And and I think he knew just through paying attention, through listening to all the different things that I had said. And this was what it was. It was an exploration. It wasn't a commitment. It was a playtime. And that's actually something that we've incorporated all of these years, is we've always talked about sex as playtime. He's like, hey, you want to go up and play? Because it's adult playtime. It's erotic playtime. And I think there's such a seriousness that comes around sex and the way that it's approached. And so it was very much just an openness of, we're going to try this and see what happens. And if we love it, cool. If we don't, then guess what? We can stop and do something else. It's not like a major commitment, right? And I think that sort of playful approach to it also was very helpful.
I think it's really helpful, but it's also really helpful having like an open partner as well. And the thing is like, well, actually, I'm going to take a step back before I go into the thing is, but like, so how do you make sure that you guys are on the same page sexually? Because yes, you work for a sex toy company, maybe your ideas are more expansive, but he happened to match with your ideas. So how do you even bring up these ideas in the very beginning to a woman, let's say a woman that you're even dating, let alone your partner, to explore these ideas so that they're not so shocking or they're not so intense for her to see, hey, are we on the same page sexually? And it sounds like the same page that you guys are on is that you're exploratory and curious, which is a great place to be with your partner.
The best way there's lots of different ways you can bring this up. One way that I would suggest, and this was something that we did do, was I was out of town and I was driving. Like, I had big, long drives, and I started listening to some different podcasts. And I remember specifically listening to a podcast about erotic hypnosis, which I had never heard of. And I was so curious about it. And I sent it to James and I said, I don't know if I would necessarily want to do this, but how interesting is this? And that was something that he did eventually attempt to incorporate. Didn't really work very well for us. That's neither here nor there. So, one way of, it's sending a podcast. This is interesting. Have you ever thought about this? That's a very indirect way of bringing it up. Another way of saying it is even like with a bottle of lubricant, right? I got this. What do you think? Would you ever consider trying this? And I like, would you ever consider? Because it's not a yes or no. And sometimes it's fun if you can go and pick things out together. But sometimes you have a partner who is very, very, very shy, very concerned about that. And
Yeah.
so I think it's also really best to have these conversations outside of the bedroom, because if you introduce it in the bedroom and it
Yeah, it's
doesn't go
intimidating.
particularly well, it can, crash the evening. So, having it in sort of a low stress, low time, oh, I saw a Facebook ad about this toy and it looked kind of fun. What do you think? Is that something you'd ever want to try? Just asking in a very sort of non-committal way to see, again, gauge their reaction. And if it's anything other than then, go ahead and, continue that conversation. Sometimes you'll get an enthusiastic yes. Okay, go ahead and buy it. And if it's, I'm not sure, then have that conversation. What is it about this that interests you? What are your hesitations around this? Would you ever just want to give it a try? We don't have to do it all the time, but I'd love to just kind of see what that would look like for you.
Yeah. Does it also help to share like why it would be interesting for him? Right?
Yeah.
Because you can make all these assumptions as to why this man is saying he wants to do X, Y, and Z, right? Because you want to say things to protect yourself. So you're gonna be like, oh, he really wants a younger woman because he's requesting this, or he really wants like a man because he's requesting this, or your mind can play all these tricks on you. So would it be helpful for him to say like, it's crazy? It's like I never even thought about doing this, and I saw this, and it made me think X, Y, and Z. Like really giving your honest opinion about why it piques your interest. I think would be beneficial for women.
Yes, I think I'm leading with curiosity is a great way, because to your point, a lot of people get into that defensiveness. And so rather than why do you want to do this? Why? What's wrong with me? It's tell me a little bit more about what seems interesting about this to you. And a way that he can say that is, I saw this and it immediately made me think of you. And I really thought of how much fun we might be able to have if we experience this together. Is that something you'd consider trying?
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
like
also,
I'm really like, maybe you don't know this about me, but I like to expand on my ideas and the things that I do, especially in the bedroom. And I don't ever want to be one of those boring couples who just does the same thing every single day. And so when I saw this, I was like, okay, this is something I could venture into. I've never done this before, and I would love to try this with you. I think it'd be really fun.
I don't see how anyone would say no to that.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good, because I just think like I do. All of it is about finessing. As you said at the very beginning of this show, it's a very sticky topic. It's a sensitive topic. It's a guarded topic for many people, and as open sexually as men may, or we assume men may be, they can also be very uncomfortable about these things. So it's a challenging conversation on both sides. Like I think for a lot of women, you usually envision men being the driving force for sex, and that is not the case at all. I would say I'm the driver for sex, for wanting more sex in our household. So it's like you have all these assumptions in your head about how it's supposed to be. So just acknowledging that it can be sticky and tricky for everybody is a really good place to start at, and then talk about things from a place of curiosity and then honesty. And I think that's when you'll get the best reactions from everybody.
Agreed. The another important part too, and this goes into the building trust part of it, is having a solid relationship. And I think that when you look at a lot of couples, especially where you have a woman who maybe has a lot of resentment built up, and she's like, I'm tired, I'm taking care
Oh,
of the
that's what I
kids,
was
I'm
going to
doing
ask
my
you about too.
job, and now he wants this.
And now you want to stick it in my butt? No
Yeah.
way. I'm not going to do that. That's
No.
that was the question that I was going to ask you. So, like a lot of guys come into our inner circle coaching program, or even they get the F formula, right? Which is a program all about flirting. They're like, I want to use this on my wife. I'm like, well, let's see if she hates you first, because if she fucking hates you,
Yeah.
flirting is going to piss her off even more. You're going to start
Yes.
flirting, and you're not going to acknowledge all the reasons that she might resent you and hate you. You're going to be out of that door faster than I can, say the F formula. So how do you know that what's going on for the woman isn't or is what you mentioned in the beginning of the show of just like lack of confidence around sex, right? And lack of awareness and knowledge about having an orgasm versus this woman is so resentful towards you and there's so much tension between the two of you. And typically you'd say you can tell, but I want to give guys like a clear roadmap so that they can tell when there is a difference between the two.
A big thing that they'll be able to tell, women ask for a long time. They will ask, they will say, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And you may have been saying yes, you may have been saying a lot of no. When they stop asking completely, they have given up. They have just said, he's not.
You're not going to help.
You're not going to help.
Why am I asking?
I'm just going to go ahead and just take care of it all myself. If she's saying things like, I've got it, I'm taking care of all of myself with that tight tone in her voice, you're definitely in that spot. That tension builds up over time. And there's two sides to it too, because I do think that a lot of men want to help. They try to help in different ways, but it can turn out in two different ways. One, she says thank you and she allows him to help, and she releases control, which can be challenging for a lot of women.
Yes. Or she micromanages, which is what I do.
Or she wants him to do it the exact way that she would do it. And if he doesn't do it the exact way that she would do it, she gets mad at him. And he feels like no matter what he does it wrong. And so then he stops offering to help. Right? And
kind of like what you said happens in the bedroom in the very beginning.
Mm-hmm. The thing that is critical for women to realize and for men to help reassure them, I'm going to do this differently than you. Different doesn't mean bad. Different is just different. And I'll share a story. When my oldest son was about 18 months old, I don't remember what I was doing, but my husband was going to take him to a friend. They were going to watch a football game. You know, I had the pack and play, and this is what needs to happen. And at this time, you need to lay him down, you know, all of these instructions. I don't know. I went off and did my thing. He comes home. I said, oh, did Ethan take his nap? Oh, no. I just gave him a lollipop dipped in Dr. Pepper. He was fine. I was like, you did what? Horrified. But did I get my time away? Did I get to go have some peace and quiet and do whatever it was that I needed to do? Yes. Was my child fine? Yes. He was fine.
Oh, you're very advanced. I would have lost my shit. I'm like, what's wrong with you?
I mean, don't get me wrong. There were definitely some words that were said. But allowing him to help to do things the way that he does is a place where I can relinquish, and it gives me freedom, and that gives me space. The thing that men can't do in this time is, oh yeah, honey, go have lunch with your friends, and then call. Hey, can I give the kid this? Should I do that? No. Give her the space. You are a grown man. You are fully qualified to take care of your children. And that is just continuing to add to the mental load of women, and we carry it. Sometimes we hold on to it. We also have to relinquish it. The man has to help her relinquish it by showing that he can be trustworthy. Things may be done a little bit differently, and that's okay, but reassuring her, things are going to be fine. I want you to go have a good time. My husband says that to me all the time. Just go. I got it. Just go. Just go. I've got it. Don't worry. And then I have to make myself not worry. But then I go because I know he's got it. And that spiral continues to feed on itself, because the more I know he has it, the more I trust that he has it, which makes it easier for me to relinquish that control. And it's really important for a man to have his own individual bond with his children. It's going to be different than the motherly bond. And that's also a huge gift that we as mothers can give to the fathers of our children and, our partners, is that relationship.
Of course. So how do people know the difference between like I can't have an orgasm and I hate you now? I'm like so angry because I've had to do all of this stuff. Like exactly what you were saying before when she's like, I got it. Just go. You do your own thing. Like is that like those are big signs that there's tension there. Because it sounds like you and your husband got along really well. You would go on dates. You would have great conversations. There was no tension between the two of you. You were still having great conversations. It's just that in the bedroom was where things were lacking. So it's when all of those things that I just mentioned aren't present, and then there's issues in the bedroom. That's when you have to handle the tension first before you handle
100%.
the sex.
Yes, you have to handle the tension first.
And the ways to do it are everything that you just mentioned. Like
yeah, relinquish that control. I mean, if you are at that point where I hate you, leave me alone, I mean, it's time to head to couples therapy. And guys, there's nothing wrong with talking to a couples therapist and having a third eye on what is going on, and especially a qualified one. Not all therapists are created equal, but being able to sort through and be given tools to communicate in a more effective way for both of you, because it's always both. It's never just one person's fault. And I think that's the other thing. That is the other thing that I hear frequently is this is his problem to fix, or this is her problem to fix. And it is never just one person's problem to fix. To your original question about how do you know if it's like the orgasm thing or the I hate you thing, if it's a do I feel like something's wrong with me, or this is a I hate you, leave me alone. So the tension, if it's a core relationship problem, then that of course you don't want to have sex with somebody that you hate. Like
right.
That's normal. That makes sense.
There's no attraction there.
There's no attraction there. So if you're in that place where the tension is just so overwhelming and you really actively dislike each other, then yes, you need to address that first and foremost, long before you get into the focus on pleasure and orgasms and all of those things.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right. Well, that concludes our show. But Amy, that was excellent advice. And I'm really glad that you came on and talked about these things, because I think like we really dug into the nuance behind a lot of things that can happen with any woman in your life. I think, like, to be honest, I used to be exactly the same way as you. I didn't know what I was supposed to be feeling or experiencing until one of my best friends said to me, "Oh, you should masturbate so that you know what you like for yourself." And I was like, "Oh, okay. I don't even know how to do that." And I was like 21 at that point or something like that. And then I started doing that. I was like, "Oh, this is what I'm supposed to feel," because I got to control it and I didn't have all that stuff going on in my head, which is what I had whenever I be with men. I'd be like tense. I didn't have great sexual experiences before that. I had them and it was fun sometimes, but a lot of it was, I was always thinking, are they enjoying themselves? Should I be enjoying myself more? It was a lot that was in my head. So I appreciate you sharing that, because it is something that goes on for so many people. I don't think it's just women. I think it's men too. But for the guys who are listening, I hope that this gave you insight into what's going on in our minds and how to help shift that for the women in your life. So Amy, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And tell people where they can find more information about you other than the Inner Circle coaching program, but for your business that you have.
I own Suburban Intimacy, where I provide talk-based coaching for women, men, and couples who are either experiencing intimacy challenges or just want to learn how to expand their pleasure, learn some new techniques, tricks, things like that. There's a lot of different fun things. I also do educational workshops, online courses. So you can find me at suburbanintimacy.com.
I love it. All right. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Ask Women podcast. Sorry that Kristen was not here. She was actually just in Los Angeles, and she just did a 3-day seminar with another dating coach all about her bantering. But she will hopefully be back next week. So you'll get both of us plus our guest. New episodes of How to Get the Girl, brought to you by the Ask Women podcast, come out every Tuesday morning unless Kristen forgets, and then it comes out on Wednesday. But usually it's on every Tuesday morning, really early in the morning. She does not have a set time, but it will be up by the end of the day. Thanks for listening. You guys are awesome. We'll see you next week.